What's up, guys? This is Manoj Puplani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edupedia world. It's a wonderful day outside. Sunlight is directly coming on my face. It's a pleasant one. Great ambience, great living. I just hope that you guys are enjoying your life to the fullest. Perfect. I expected that kind of response from your end. So, are you guys revising your topics time and again? Perfect. If in case you are doing, that's cheers to you. But if in case you are doing something else, then you need to revise your topic time and again. It's a CA final course and you can't skip anything in that front. So guys, in this presentation, I'll start one new chapter with you, wherein I'll be discussing with you relating to something management and operational audit. So what is management? What is management audit? What are operations? What are operational audit? So all over here in this particular presentation. So I just hope that you guys are all set for the day and you guys are willing to learn something new in your life. Perfect. So we'll not keep you waiting anymore in that case. Fasten up your seatbelts. We are about to take off with this presentation. Fly high along with me. Thank you so much. So first thing first comes, as always. So guys, before heading towards the chapter, let's understand what does management audit is all about. So guys, management audit is basically a systematic kind of independent appraisal activity within an organization for a review of the management's efficiency in its decision-making function. This is a broad kind of definition for management audit. Now let's understand it term by term. Management audit is a systematic, that's a pretty obvious thing, independent appraisal activity. So this is particularly an activity which is being done on an independent basis, first of all. And since it is all about the management audit for a company, management comes in any of the company. So again, that requires the application which is systematic in nature. So it is a systematic independent appraisal activity within an organization for the review of whom? Obviously, the management's efficiency, whether the management's working style, whether the management itself is efficient enough to make the particular and suitable decisions for its company or not. So it's a systematic independent appraisal activity within an organization for a review of the management's efficiency in its decision making function. So is the management really responsible? Is the management really efficient? Is the management doing all of its activities in the most appropriate manner? Are all the decisions which are being taken up by the management correct? And if not correct, at least are they feasible for the benefit of the organization or not? So all these questions are being answered in this thing, which is called management audit. Now, we have heard about statutory audit. We have heard about internal audit. Guys, you must be thinking about one thing, why the company will be incurring some of the cost for a thing which is called management audit. Obviously you'll be having this kind of idea because audit is usually considered the most useless kind of activity by many of the organizations. Indeed, many of the people think of this thing as useless, though it's absolutely not. Audit is extremely important for any of the organization. But why would a company be willing to spend some of the bucks for management audit? Well, that's because the top management, the core management, wants its company to run in the most appropriate manner. Any leader, any business leader will want its company to work in the most useful, symmetric, and independent kind of great organization. Each and every manager which has led itself to the top of the management will want that the company should have the management audit time and again. Why? Because this particular management audit is going to analyze the management's activities with relation to its efficiency for making any of the decision in the organization. Forget about the profitability, but that's essential. Why? Because there is some of the need of the management audit and why people think of it. Now, here are those pointers. First of all, stakeholders' views. So, guys, stakeholders' views are extremely important. Extremely important. Why? Because management's appraisal has been given a very critical kind of area of evaluation for many of the outsiders, like banks, equity research analysts, government bodies, and most importantly, shareholders. And as there is a very awakened kind of interest of outsiders to judge the merits of the organization, there has arisen a similar kind of movement from within the organization as well to judge the result of the operations and their managers. So, in order to ensure that stakeholders' view like is actually kept at par and equality with the management needs, it's extremely important to have the management audit. First of all, second, another important thing, changing the scope of audit. So traditionally what used to happen, auditing has been like very financially oriented. Even today, if you look at start audit, it's extremely financially oriented, which focuses on the correctness of the accounting records and property and propriety of activities contained in those records. But times are changing, guys. Recently there has been like immense kind of emphasis has been made on more of a holistic kind of approach to the financial reporting to incorporate the comments on the efficiency with which the company has conducted its affairs. So, audit is changing, periods are changing, everything is changing. So, in order to ensure that management's need with respect to changing scope of audit is being properly satisfied, management audit is extremely important. So the next thing that comes in is inadequacy of other audits. So there has been like many of the instances wherein you got to know that evaluation of management team would have been for both ongoing and its inconsiderable kind of detailing to be very much meaningful. However, we have all seen that presently some kind of internal audits are for directors' information, and so they are from far from this kind of evaluation of efficiency of the director themselves. Internal audits are being done for the management or the directors kind of information. So are you like having any kind of idea whether the same is going to evaluate the efficiency of director themselves? Absolutely not. So this has actually resulted in some kind of different way in order to ensure that is the director's efficiency being evaluated or not. So then this management audit comes into the picture. So this is one area which is going to help you up with kind of the efficiency of directors themselves as well. So this is another thing which has led to the need for management audit, that is inadequacy of other audits like internal, stat, other areas. Next thing comes in as efficiency analysis. So guys, management audit basically focuses on the comprehensive and the constructive examination of the organizational structure, its components like divisions, departments, ventures, plans, policies, and so on, blah blah blah. So it needs to be done accordingly. So while evaluating all these things, in order to ensure that efficiency analysis is being done, all these tools which I just spoken to you are of like dire need for management audit. So that's why these things are incorporated while doing the management audit. So that's the need of them. Again, it's a thing. Usually what happens is audit is for something which has already happened in the past, and you are like reporting what has happened in the past and your analysis on the basis of that. So this is again a distinction which is being created with management audit as compared to other audits. Other audits are backward looking in nature, okay, but this is something which is forward looking in nature. Management audit is always forward looking. Why? Because it helps you up in analyzing, okay, what kind of mistakes you should avoid as far as your future is concerned. So it gives you a forward approach in that case. Though other audits are also on the same track, but they are for backward looking. You need to analyze the figures which have already happened in the past. But in this case, you are actually focusing on the forward thing, which is the future, which is the future outcome which will come, the sooner or later things. So management audit represents a more positive and a forward-looking approach that evaluates how well management accomplishes its stated organizational objectives, how effective management is in planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the organizational activities, and how appropriate the management's decision are for reaching the stated kind of organization objectives. So that's its nature, that forward-looking nature. Again, the other things comes around, that is current control and pre-control. So managerial problems and related operational difficulties can be spotted immediately in this management audit. Unlike a financial audit wherein the lacunas, the loopholes are usually reflected once the audit is actually completed. But this thing is going to ensure that the management problems and related operational difficulties can be spotted immediately, and the action can be taken on simultaneous basis as well. So periodic management audits pinpoint the problems as they develop from a very small scale. So that's again a kind of good current control as well as pre-control. In a sense, I can say that. Next thing comes in as the effectiveness of management. So guys, management audit serves as a tool. Basically, it's a tool to improve the management performance. We are all aware of this, why the company is actually going for an option of having management audit. Obviously, because it is serving as a tool to improve the management's performance. It recognizes the facts and the information about management presented after an appropriate kind of examination, verification, and evaluation by professionally qualified and competent people. We as chartered accountants or even some other people around, because management audit isn't something which is being like directly done only by chartered accountants. So there are some of the other qualified and competent people as well who can do it. So it provides you the effectiveness of management in that sense. Next thing comes in as the business re-engineering. So management audit usually helps in ailing the industries to identify their problems and overcome them. Management audit is basically like more relevant in the cases of industries which face problem like high volume of stock inventory is huge in that stores. There have been like many of the instances for machine breakdowns, operation failures, underutilization of capacities. So management audit is again performing a certain kind of function wherein it provides you the requisite details relating to your business re-engineering as well. So what all are the lacunas, loopholes which are going in your business? So they are actually going to reflect you up in a very positive sense. So you can just immediately go ahead and complete and correct and rectify the same accordingly. Again, the next point comes in as the equity and activity and system flow. So a management audit questionnaire helps to evaluate the managerial performance. This questionnaire usually helps in understanding the flow of systems, procedure, and method of work within the organization. What is questionnaire? So by questionnaire, I simply mean the kind of objective test or like objective solutions which are being provided to the management and its people. The kind of multiple choice question as to what are the problems which are going on in the company and what are their recommendations. So this questionnaire is a very basic kind of a tool to analyze any of the company's performance. So kindly, the next time whenever you get a chance in your organization wherein you are auditing, you can just distribute all these questionnaires which are like available on Google itself. So what kind of good quality questionnaires for any of the company can be provided. So there you'll get to know what all are the things which are happening in the organization, what all are the problems which are being faced by the employees who are working over there, what all are their suggestions. So by this questionnaire, you'll be able to take each and every stuff from them and you'll be able to provide them in the best kind of management audit report. So system activity and flow is a basic essential need for any of the management audit. And lastly, that is detecting managerial deficiencies. So management audit is required for detecting and overcoming current managerial deficiencies. What all are the problems which are going on in the company and how they can be rectified, and thus resulting the ongoing problems into providing them the correct kind of solutions in ongoing operations. If in case there are certain kind of managers who are ineffective in their present positions, then you as an auditor can provide them some appropriate kind of corrective action that can be taken by them. So for all these purposes, the auditor, that means you need to have that kind of requisite education and correct kind of attitude, and you should be able to view the matters as management may view them. So you need to have that kind of gauged out figure and fact in your mind as well. That kind of approach, positive approach, wherein you can provide them the best of the solutions and opinions. This in that sense, you should be capable of analyzing and judging the efficiency of management. So You need to take care of all these things. So guys, this is all about management audit basically. So herein I did told you about the meaning of management and what all are the needs for the management audit. So again, there comes in some kind of scope as well. So this was all about management audit and its needs. But obviously, each and every audit basically brings in some kind of scope. So this management audit is basically concerned with like appraising the management's accomplishment of organization objectives. Its function for planning, organizing, directing, controlling, and whether there have been like adequacy of management's decision and action for retaining and attaining those objectives or not. So these all are the things which need to be done, and management auditors should review the efficiency of the management decisions and functions. You as an auditor need to judge whether the management is doing the correct things or the management is doing those things correctly or not. So these are the activities which needs to be done in a management audit. I hope you got the complete clarity as to what's your role as an auditor in any kind of management audit. I just provided you a holistic kind of approach and how to move about on the same. Perfect, guys. Let's move to our next topic. That is preconditions of management audit. So, guys, before starting out of like any of the management audit, okay, you need to understand one thing. So, these are the preconditions. Before starting any of the management audit, you need to have those preconditions clear out in your mind. So one is the overall objectives. So you need to understand what is the overall objective of the company. It should be clearly perceived, identified, and stated in a very specific kind of terms and condition manner. So you need to have that kind of verified idea before starting any of the management audit. Next thing comes in as the operational plans. So overall objectives of the organization are to be analyzed into very much quantifiable, detailed targets and plans for all the various kind of segments like production, sales, finance, etc. So all these things need to be taken care of. So what all are the overall objectives? Finally, what all are the operational plans in that case? Next thing comes in the management hierarchy. You need to be aware of this thing, that the organization structure. What's the kind of organization structure? You need to have a fair idea about that. You need to create that on a working paper of yours. You need to specify the targets, the objectives of each and every function over there, and also the kind of reporting responsibilities that you'll be having. The management is usually having that kind of hierarchy. So you need to pen down all those things accordingly. Next thing comes in as performance management. So there should be a mechanism for measuring the performance of each functional area or responsibility center. The performance expressed in quantitative terms facilitates comparison with objectives and targets. So always go for this kind of approach wherein you can get something on quantitative term, because that helps you up in analyzing the performance and measuring two of the targets accordingly. So target can be compared with the actuals and objectives accordingly. Next thing comes in as the uniformity of attitude. So there should be a very good kind of coordination between management auditor and various department heads. You as an auditor, the management auditor, you need to be aware of one thing, that you are having a great kind of camaraderie with your other department heads as well, because that will be the best thing in that case, because they'll get the motivation that yes, they can get themselves satisfied with the fact that you are actually working for them and for their benefit and for their betterment. So you need to win their confidence in that way. So a motivation system is actually very helpful, and the same can be adopted, like incentive for best performance, or maybe something else, something good, something innovative in that case. So, this is a kind of attitude that an auditor should maintain in that case. There should be a uniformity in that case. And the lastly, system of MIS. So a suitable kind of management information system should provide timely and adequate information to the management auditor on various efficiency aspects. So all these things are the preconditions of management audit. Before starting out, you need to have all these things penned down on your paper. You need to do your complete kind of proper homework before you move on to field. So overall objectives, operational plans, management's hierarchy, performance management, uniformity in your attitude as an auditor, and finally the system of MIS. So all these things should be provided for in that case. So these are the preconditions of management audit. Now many people usually ask me, okay sir, what's the difference between financial audit and management audit in that case? And since this is one of the questions which was asked way back in one of the CA final examinations, so I'll just briefly provide you some kind of differences between financial audit and management audit. So guys, the basic thing comes as a difference between the two in as the legal requirement. So financial audit is compulsory. Obviously, the statute asks you up. The Companies Act basically asks you up to go for statutory audit. So financial audit is a legal requirement. That's compulsory. Management audit is not compulsory. There is no legal compulsion as regards management audit. It's voluntary. If a company feels like they need to have this kind of management audit into their system, you're most welcome. You can appoint any of the management auditor. So it's voluntary in that case. Next important difference and distinguishment comes in as periodicity. So financial audit is being done annually. They are conducted each year. But in case of management audits are usually conducted once in 2 or 3 years. Management usually don't spend much of the bucks like financial audit on management audit because that is voluntary and that's just not compulsory. So they usually take up this activity once or twice after a period of like 2 or 3 years. So that's their periodicity in that case. And as far as the time period covered is concerned, so financial audit basically takes care of the business transactions of the past financial year. Whereas in case of management audit, there is no such limitation as to the period to be covered. So you can take up as many as periods of the back date. So you can take up any of the periods in that case. That could be 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years, 10 years down the line. So there is no such kind of time limitation in case of management audit. But as far as financial audit is concerned, that's being done on the basis of transactions on just the past financial year. Now, next comes in the scope. Where scope? So the financial audit's basic scope. What is it that? You must be aware of it. You have been like starting audit for the past, I guess, at least 2 years now. So you completed the same in your IPCC as well, wherein you got to know that our responsibility as auditor is to express an opinion on the true and fair view of the financial statements, obviously. But in case of management audit, it is the responsibility to express an opinion on the performance of management during a particular period and to suggest some kind of remedial measures if the same are required. So that is the scope in financial audit and that is the scope in management audit. Whereas in case of audit focus, wherein my audit focus is concerned, so in financial audit, it is basically concerned with the financial aspect of the business transactions for the year-end audit. What all has happened into the business transactions in the past 1 year, all the financial aspect of that will be covered in financial audit. But in case of management audit is basically concerned with review of the past performance of management to ascertain whether it is in tune with the objective, policies, procedures of the enterprise or not. So that is the audit focus in management audit. In case of last thing, that is reporting authority. So financial audit is basically done for shareholders, obviously. So the statutory auditor is basically reporting to the owners of the company, that is the shareholders. Whereas in case of management audit, the management auditor basically reports to the management in this case. So these are the broad and the major distinguishing characteristic parameters aspects between financial audit and management audit. Its legal requirement, its periodicity, its time period coverage, its scope, audit focus, and finally the reporting authority. I guess you guys got the complete clarity with respect to preconditions of management audit and what is the difference between financial audit and management audit. Perfect, guys. Love you with this. Let's move to the next topic, the crucial one, and that is the stages and steps in the management audit. So guys, this is something which has been like asked in many of the CA final examination in some steps and parts basis. So in any of the examination, that hasn't been the case wherein you would be like asked for all the stages or something relating to all the stages of management audit. So usually question comes in wherein you are supposedly required to perform something on the basis of some stages. It might be something from stage 1, might be something from stage 2, or might be something from stage 3. So I'll just brief you about all these 3 stages in order to make you aware of the principles and the concepts with relation to stages and the steps that need to be performed in the management audit, so that there is no such chance wherein you'll not get the concept with relation to any other questions. So that's the best thing which I can do for you guys, for your love. So one thing that comes in as a first stage, that is preliminaries. Okay, so herein you are supposedly required to understand what all things need to be done before going for that management audit. What's your homework time basically? So you need to set your preliminary stage. Okay, so by preliminary I simply mean that you need to place your statement of policy first of all. Next, you need to locate the audit function. Then you need to allocate some good skilled personnel in that. You need to provide that skilled personnel the audit staff training. And then after providing them the training, you can decide the time and the other aspect of the audit, when it should be done, when it shouldn't be done, so accordingly. And finally, you need to determine the frequency of audit. Okay, so by frequency I mean once, twice, thrice. Okay, like how many times do you want to conduct that audit in a year? So you need to determine the frequency of it. Now that is on the brief side. But now if I'll tell you about this first thing that comes into mind, that is devising the statement of policy. So the top management should lay down the management audit policy first of all, specifying the clear terms, the scope and the status of management audit within the enterprise, and its authority to carry out the audit, issue reports and make recommendations, and finally evaluate the corrective action in that case. The policy statement becomes the charter. Okay, that's the most important thing under which the management auditor should operate. So the management first of all should devise this kind of statement of policy, after looking at which the management auditor will be able to perform its audit. Next thing comes in as the locating of the audit function within the organization. So again guys, the management audit team should function independently without being affected by any kind of pressure from various groups in the enterprise. It's better to place some kind of audit function quite high in the organization. The audit team should consist of specialists from management services department, administrative control department, and also from other functional areas. So that's how you'll be like able to fix up some of the location of the audit function. Third thing comes in as the allocation of the skill personnel. So management audit team should consist of highly skilled personnel, highly, I mean extremely highly skilled individuals with the knowledge of the following areas like auditing theory and practice, organization and management, their review principles, effective method of control, technology, commercial practices, basic knowledge of commerce, law, taxation, costing, quantitative techniques, all these things. They need to be aware of all these things. And these skills are basically required to analyze the methods and procedures, to evaluate the operational performance and the non-monetary operational controls. And finally, to identify the problems and suggest some kind of good remedial measures to the management. So you need to allocate some kind of like skilled personnel, highly skilled individuals, and provide them the requisite amount of training, obviously, and formulate the training for that man who is going to take care of your management audit. So management auditor and his team must be informed of the best kind of techniques which are available and the recent developments in auditing. They should adopt some kind of novel and the best methods of the work. They should create some kind of they should not create any of the predictable kind of pattern in their questions. Approach and evaluation techniques should be extremely new. So they should be provided such kind of training. And accordingly, a continuous training program is necessary to achieve the quality in the performance of the management audit assignments. And finally, this will enable the staff to assume that additional responsibilities and advances in the organization are going on. So that's why audit staff training is extremely important. After providing them the training, you need to decide on the time and the other aspects. So management should decide on the time required, cost which will be involved. Obviously, you need to have this fair idea about the cost as well. And finally, the use of experts. How many experts do we need to complete that audit in the course of the management audit? These decisions will depend on various factors like nature of assignment, the number of auditors who are assigned to perform that work, and the need to employ some specialist when information is actually not available within the entity. So these are the things which are going to determine the deciding factor, which is the time and other aspect. Your time required, your cost, your use of experts, the nature of assignment, the number of auditors who are assigned to perform that work, These are the things which are going to determine the time and other aspects. And finally, the stage one will end with the determination of the frequency of audit. So management audit should be conducted often enough to provide some kind of protection against the growing problems, but they should not be so frequent as to lead the repetition with the result of questionable values. So a management audit will be ideal if conducted once in 2 or 3 years, which I have just provided to you. So the frequency of the management audit will be like comparatively higher if the organization is basically subject to some kind of rapid changes and total resources which are being utilized are expensive enough. So the frequency depends upon these factors: rapid changes, higher cost involved, or these things. So accordingly, you change the frequency of the audit. So that was stage one: preliminaries, then placing the statement of policy, locating the audit function, allocating the skill personnel, providing them the requisite training, deciding time and other aspect of audit, and finally concluding the first stage with determination of the frequency of audit. Perfect, guys. So the next thing that comes in is as stage two, how to conduct that audit. So these were all about the preliminaries. Finally, you have actually started working on the court now. So you are actually on the court and you are not in the stance now. So you need to do your audit. You need to conduct the same. So first of all, the first thing that comes into picture, that is getting the facts. So management auditor is expected to first of all get the facts from through their interviews, questionnaires, and other things. Then the measuring of the performance through management audit questionnaire. Normally, whatever the kind of responses, the observation that you made with the help of those interviews, now you need to measure those performance through the management audit questionnaire, that is MEQ. So by getting the facts through interviews, I simply mean you need to assess on various things like areas of question, what kind of areas, what kind of questions that a management auditor can ask. So management auditor basically should have an idea of the required information and the number of direct questions to gather that kind of desired information. So MAQ, that is the management audit questionnaire, is generally used in that case to get the specific functional areas evaluation. Next thing, that is auditee. So management auditor should select the very right persons. Supposedly, I want to go to Agra. Okay, Agra is in UP, which is like pretty close by Delhi. But if I'll go to a person who is based out in Chennai, somewhere else, and if I'll ask him how to go to Agra, I even don't know whether he'll be like having an idea where Agra is actually. Why? Because I'm not offending any of the people who are like based out in southern region. I'm just pointing out to one thing: go with a person who is having a fair idea of the situation where it's actually provided or like particularly available. So Delhi is very close by Agra. So each and every person who is based out in Delhi would be having a fair idea how to drop in to Agra. But that's not the case which is going to be with the person who is situating in Chennai. So same thing goes with this. So auditee, management auditor should select the right persons, the right managers and the staff to interview so as to obtain the right and the pertinent information which will be relevant and useful for evaluation. So that's again the second important thing. Next thing, prior notice. Obviously, the person who is required to be interviewed must be informed prior in advance. He is not supposedly required to perform or provide you the relevant documentation or resources well on time because he was not having any idea that management audit is going on. So the next time you go on for any of the management audit, go and speak to that person to whom you are actually going to interview. So first of all, before going for actual interview in that case, so need to provide them the information in advance. So as to like what kind of reports, records, and other documentation that you require, he or she will be able to keep it available during the time of interview in that case. Next thing comes in as the interview. So finally, the main thing. So the discussion between the auditor and the management should be very friendly, very friendly, and conducted in a very open kind of atmosphere in order to encourage the free exchange of ideas. So that will be a very rigid kind of approach wherein you will be like dominating the situation and asking the person to reveal all his answers. So that's just not going to be in a very much favorable position for you as well. So you need to have that kind of very open and a very positive kind of conversation wherein You can allow and encourage some kind of free exchange of ideas. So interview should be very free and friendly. The next thing will come in as the verification finally. So the once the information has been like obtained from the auditee, it is advisable to verify the accuracy of the information by requesting the person interviewed to provide them the notes or place his or her initials thereon. So verification is extremely important. Uh, Documentation work. So get the initials signed by that person whom you interview. That will help you once you complete the audit. The second thing comes in as the measuring the performance through management audit questionnaire. Again, so management audit questionnaire, guys, basically is a questionnaire that helps or aims basically at a comprehensive and a constructive kind of examination for the management's uh, and its assigned task. So the purpose of MEQ is basically to define all the problems that are being faced by the management in terms of some specific situations that exist, the appraisal of management actions in accomplishing the organizational objectives, and finally to highlight all the weaknesses and defenses of the organization for any other possible improvements. So that's extremely important in that case. And the aspects, what all are the aspects which are being covered by MEQ? Long-term plans, medium and short-term plans, organizational structure, leadership, communication, control, all these things are basically covered over here. So your responses and questions should be like very much precise. It should be either yes, no, or not applicable. So by yes, I simply mean that okay, this particular thing which is being under some kind of study is a functioning in an acceptable manner, and no further explanation is like being provided in that case. So it's a yes. No basically indicates some kind of unexpectable, acceptable performance, and it should be explained in writing. The remarks for negative answers should particularly provide some kind of documentation for future reference, and so that you can take up some kind of remedial action as well. So, by not applicable, I simply mean that this particular situation or question is not applicable to the given situation, and the same can be easily ignored. So that was all about stage number two. So now finally, in order to conclude, obviously you have set your preliminaries very high. You completed your conduct for the audit right away on time with bang on. And now, after completing these two stages, if in case you didn't go for your third stage, that is the conclusion and reporting, then each and every hard work and pain of yours will be uh, futile. Obviously, that won't serve you anything. So that's going to be very much futile for you. So you need to understand that stage three is extremely important. That is the conclusion and reporting. So it concludes and includes pre-report discussions. First of all, you need to have a discussion before you write anything down on the paper. So auditees usually get very offensive with the fact that auditors usually don't discuss things or problems with them before writing down on the audit reports. So you need to ensure that you have a pre-report discussion in that case. Second, after pre-report discussion, prepare the draft report, provide them the supporting information in that. After that, write and issue the final report, and then after providing them the report, follow up with them whether they have actually corrected their mistakes or not. So pre-report discussions are extremely important. The management auditor should meet the management and concerned personnel for discussing any of the aspect relating to audit. Responsible officials are of different units subjected to audit should be given the opportunity to discuss matters in concerning of their departments. So this basically helps you up in tying all the loose ends. There are no hang-ups at the last moment, and this is why it is always recommended to go for pre-report discussions. Prepare the draft report next to find out the most effective manner of presenting the report. So this particular draft report is going to help you out because final isn't being revealed. So that's a draft report, and it helps in analyzing whether there is some kind of superfluous information or a gap in some kind of reasoning or not. So that's why it's called draft report and not final. Next, you need to support your draft report with some kind of supporting. You need to supplement your report with some kind of documents, data, which are like adequately and convincingly will support your conclusions. So you need to have that kind of supporting information that may include some relevant provision of law, standards, and regulations. Next thing will come in as the writing part. That is the major thing, the main final thing, that is writing and issuing the final report. Before issuing the final report, management auditor should discuss conclusions and recommendations with appropriate level of management. Please, please, please don't forget, this is the major blunder which usually people do. They don't discuss things. So you need to ensure that you discuss your observations with management first of all before writing down or pen down your observations in the final report. So the management auditor may also make some kind of oral representation of recommendation or presentation of the financial finance report to the management. So the management auditor should review in that case and approve the final report, and this should be duly signed and dated. And finally, after providing the same, you need to follow it up. So management auditor should review whether the management has taken appropriate follow-up action on the basis of report or not. And if in case no action has been taken within the reasonable time, he or she should draw management's attention towards it. So these were the stages and steps in the management audit: preliminaries, conduct of audit, and finally conclusion and reporting. I guess you got the complete clarity as to how you need to go about it. This chart, if in case you come across any of the situation wherein you find out this question in your question paper, don't forget to make this chart, this diagram, this way. That actually going to provide you a very good thing. This is a flow chart, and this will help you in getting good kind of marks, because this is a very great kind of pictorial representation of your answer. So perfect, guys. I just hope you get this question in your answer. Your question paper. Definitely you'll be able to make it through with this. Now let's move to our next topic. This was the question which was asked in CA final examination for November 1996, and I just promised you up that I'm not going to leave any of the question which was asked in previous attempt, because I want you to get succeed in your respective paper. So I'll be going to cover this question as well. So guys, this question asks for like features of good management audit report. Obviously, we are supposedly required to provide management with the management audit report. So what should be and what are the good features of some good management audit report? So guys, a good management and operational audit report should have, first thing, that is title. Obviously, before writing any of the management report, you need to ensure that you write the title of that report on the first page. That is the first thing which needs to be done. So the title should be very short but descriptive, so that the subject matter can be easily identified. Next thing comes in as objectives. So the object's purpose of the audit assignment should be described in that. Third, scope. A brief description of the activities which are being performed, areas which you will be covering, persons with whom you will be having discussions have been made. So this will basically help in providing the better appreciation of that report, because you have already have conversations with these people. So they should be highlighted in that case. Next thing comes in as order. So by order, I mean that this report should be communicated, should communicate the matter in a very logical and a cogent kind of terms. So haphazard and unrelated statements do not make any kind of good report. So it is better to make the points in a clear-cut paragraph. So the order should be maintained in that case. Next thing comes in as language. So the matters which are being stated in the report should be like factually correct and in a very kind of clear language. It is advisable to use the terms and expressions with which operating people are familiar. Next comes in as brevity. So by brevity, I simply mean that the report should be brief. Okay, it's a very it should be very brief. It should be clear. It should be to the point. Minor points can be avoided. It should be avoided in that case. Next comes in as the level of management. So the report should meet basically the information requirements of the level of management to which it is sent. Okay, that's the first and that's actually the most important thing. Your report should meet the kind of information requirements for the level of management to which it is being sent. The report should have like clear perception of the matters of the interest of management. The auditor basically may send some kind of good different reports covering some different matters for various levels of management as well. So that's again could be a case with you. So you can take care of these things accordingly. Next comes in as the facts and the figures. So the report should be backed by the facts and figures. Obviously, it needs to be done about the operations reviewed by the auditor. This will enable the reader to assess the reasonableness of the auditor's opinion and to get an idea of, this is basically going to give you a great kind of idea of the implications of the audit observations. So figures themselves speak a lot, and the auditor should make a very kind of judicious use of figures in that case in the preparation of his report. So that's going to be extremely important in that case. Next thing comes in as the finding, conclusions, and opinions. So all the facts and the data which is being pertaining to a situation should be assembled, classified, and analyzed. Each finding should be discussed comprehensively and correlated with other findings, tables, and graphs. This may be used for the presentation of the statistical data. You might find any of the things like presentations, good presentations. They usually carry some use of charts, graphs, other things, in order to ensure that the presentation of the statistical data looks good on that. So you can incorporate all these things in your report, and the findings may be given by like for each department either wise or to provide them some kind of good order of importance. Next thing comes in as recommendations. So a management report should include some kind of recommendations for potential improvements as well, because that's the only thing as to why management audit is basically done. Why? Because you'll be providing them some recommendations for potential improvements, and these remedial measures for a system uh, may be pointed out in that. Next thing would come in as the auditee's view. Guys, you have done the audit on behalf of the auditee by looking at the solutions and problems which are being faced by the auditee. So you need to have your draft report should be discussed with the department chiefs in order to ensure their accuracy. So the auditee's views about the audit conclusions, recommendations may be included in that final report in appropriate circumstances as the case may be. Second last thing would be its executive summary. A summary of conclusions, recommendations may be given in case of long reports. Supposedly, you have like presented them the report of like 50 pages. Are you like seriously thinking about this thing that the company is going to read your 50-page policy, 50-page report? Absolutely not. That's a thing which is definitely not going to happen. At least not at a like middle or lower level. Absolutely. So you need to have that kind of proper executive summary wherein you can just elaborate or summarize the major points over here in 1 or 2 pages. So many of the people will be like eagerly reading them in that case. And the lastly, the things would be following up. So the management auditor should review whether management takes the follow-up action based on his report or not. And if in case no action is being taken within some kind of reasonable time, he or she should draw the management's attention towards it. So guys, that were the features of good management audit report. This question was asked in CA final examination for November 1996. It contains title, objectives, scope, order, language, brevity, level of management, facts and figures, finding, conclusion and opinions, recommendations, auditee's view, executive summary, and finally concluding with the follow-up. So I guess you got a complete clarity with respect to what needs to be done when the next time you prepare some good management report, audit report. So, perfect, guys. With this, I'll be concluding this presentation. The remaining of the topics will be covered in the next presentation. Stay tuned till then. I'll be concluding my video with a dose of motivation, and that will be: if you think you can win, you can win. Faith is necessary for victory. William Hazlitt mentioned this quote. So extremely important, guys. If in case you think you can, then you can. If in case you think you can't, absolutely you can't. So faith is extremely important for any of the victory, be it CA final examination or the Battle of Panipat. So both the things need to be won only on the basis of faith and trust and a bit of patience. So you need to ensure if you think you can win, definitely you can. Otherwise, you've already flung. So have that optimism in yourself, have that faith in yourself, and you'll sail through. Reach to the moons. Reach to the moon and shoot to the stars for that case. Perfect. I'll see you in the next presentation. Till then, keep interacting via questions, queries in the YouTube comment boxes. Thank you on behalf of the EduPedia world. Stay connected, guys. That will help us in understanding your needs way better. Love you all. Take care. Bye. See you in the next video.